His name is Siddeeq. He's already there. I can see, I know him for wearing spectacles, but I can see he's got goggles now. And he's got a that interesting cowboy hat. And, from Cape Town, where I'm told it is actually raining, he is a stalwart for Black Management Forum. He is one of the people that you will want to drive with for, even 12 hours just to pick his brain, So we welcome him. I promise you that we are going to talk to him at exactly 12:30. Good evening. I don't want to call you a sir. How are you doing? Or you can mute now your mic so that we can be able to hear you, because we are talking to you virtually. And let me warn you, listeners of VMC Planet Radio, that if you don't laugh, right, there is something seriously wrong with your hearing. Not with you, with your hearing. So his name is Siddeeq. Good evening.
Hi, Stanley. Good evening to you, and good evening to all of your listeners. I hope I'm coming across clearly.
You are coming across very, very clear. From Cape Town.
Yeah, and I'm very glad that I'm coming across clearly, because I don't think you can see me clearly. These are not goggles. Yeah. I just want to tell your listeners also, you need very good eyesight to see through these lenses, through these spectacles as well. But thank you so much for having me on the program. It's really a pleasure, and it's good to see you, my friend.
It is actually very good to see you. I mean, I see you are all dressed up nicely for the weather as well, except for the cowboy hat.
No, it's not a cowboy hat. It's not a cowboy hat at all. It's just the fact, I'm from the Grey Brigade. So. It's sad that we from the Grey Brigade think that we can actually preach to the youth.
Wow.
It's not true. It's not true. We can share some of our experiences, but I certainly don't think that we should actually. We do not have the right to tell them what to do.
Oh, yes.
So I want to say to you again, as an elderly person, I do not have the right to tell the youth what to do. Yeah, I can merely share my experiences. Yeah,
in fact, you answered the question I wanted to ask, which is, are you now at liberty to share your experiences? So I'm not going to ask. Well, I'm not gonna, before you say anything. Let me start off by saying, how are you doing?
Today was Valentine's Day. So every day for me is a day of love. I don't wait for a day to celebrate love. I love life. I love every relationship I have. I love everything that I do. I love my quiet time. I love my wonderful conversations with God. I love meeting people. I just love being alive. So today is another one of those Valentine's days in my life. And I didn't have to take anybody to dinner with the idea that I was going to do something to them after dinner. My dinner didn't pay for anything. If they were hungry, they would have been fed. No chocolates, no roses.
Oh.
The biggest rose I could give them is my smile.
Oh, okay. All right. Which brings me to this question. What was the last conversation before coming on that you had?
The last conversation before coming on I had was I broke my fast. So I'm Muslim. And so in the breaking of my fast, I was really thanking my partner for the wonderful treats that you made for me to break my fast. And that was my gratefulness, to her and my acknowledgement of the work that she's actually put in for preparing for me to break my fast. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting, eh?
Well, men should really say thank you for the food that they receive, even if they've made it themselves. It's okay if you've made a scrambled egg for yourself. It's fine to say to yourself, Thank you, Stanley, for making this delicious scrambled egg for yourself. I enjoyed it.
Which I did not want to ask this question, but you see, you are pushing me, so I'm going to ask this question. Now, what is your understanding? And I don't want you to give me a definition. I want you to give me an understanding of the word intention.
Of the word education.
Intention.
So,
intention.
Oh, intention.
Yeah.
Intention. Yeah. You see, one of the gifts that we have and that we've received is the gift to be able to intend to do something. And so within this current context that we have of COVID, for example, the intention of all medical practitioners should be to do no harm.
Oh, yes.
So an intention is an action or a thought, for example, that you have not to in any way lessen the quality of life of anybody else or the environment for that matter. So even as you speak to anybody or as you go about speaking to people, your intention is not to belittle that person. Your intention is not to use words that are derogatory. And for your listeners, I would say, and even for yourself, Stanley, as you know, I will say to you, if you can take one single expletive in your life that you use, and an expletive is a swear word, just take one single swear word, and delete it from your life. You will be amazed how your life changes. That is an intention.
I like
when you are wanting to go into a relationship and you intend to love that person, that is your intention, but that intention has to be put into practice. The person must not hear the words, I love you all the time. They must see the love. They must feel the love. They must, when they look at you, they must see you as the love. That is intention. So Stanley, I've always known you as to be a Mr. Lover Boy. So, you know what I'm talking about.
It is a discussion for another day. But I like the fact that when I admitted you into this discussion, we were just talking to Johnson. He said something very interesting about the impact that he wanted to make in the world when he decided he was going to do risk management. Now you talk about intention, and I like how you actually describing it. Now the reason why we are having a discussion today, me and you, is because I want to find out what does it mean to be safe.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful question. I love the question. I love the topic as well. One of the key things that we have to understand in life is that we often use words, but many times we do not actually explore what those words are. I was going to use an example now to tell you about how to explore the body. You just don't see the nose. You see the ears and you see the neck, and you can go, yeah. And so when I say that exploring words becomes vitally important, so many people see the word safe. They only see the word safe in the context of when they are physically in danger. And so they feel safe in a way in which they are going to be harmed. So in the way of not being harmed, which is safety, that's not safe. So putting burglar bars around your home, putting an alarm system around your home, carrying a gun, for example, that is all part of safety. It's not part of being safe. So what does it mean to be safe?
Exactly.
So for me, the important thing about being safe is in a relationship that you are with anybody, with any person, whether it be a family member, whether it be somebody that you love, whether it be your parents, whether it be your brother, anybody, are you safe in that relationship? And what does that mean? So in the case of your partner, for example, that you have, are you safe in the love for that person? Or does it mean that that person will do something to you that you would not like? Or say something to you that you do not like? Or in a way would defile you in a manner that humiliates you, that you do not like? So if any of those things you are not safe in that relationship in any particular way. The same applies. Are you safe in your job? Does your manager, does your supervisor have your back? If they don't have your back, they're not safe. If they cannot assure you that you have a job, if they cannot assure you, and I think the ANC is a wonderful example now, they cannot pay their members in Latulia House. So those people feel unsafe because the safety of their income has not been guaranteed. So how can they take care of their family if they feel unsafe in the job that they are in? And at some point in time, it can't pay them. And we can we can talk about food. Do we know that the food that we eat are safe for us? Do we ask, for example, has it been screened properly? Has it been cooked properly? Has it gone through all of the safety checks for that matter? We speak about the vaccine medicine. Is the vaccine safe? And yes, there are many scientists that says it is safe, and there are as many scientists that says it is not safe as well. And at the end of the day, the word safe on a psychological basis, for example, is different to the safe on a physical basis. The safe on a physical basis is about where you are going to be harmed. The safe on a psychological basis is, are you at ease with what it is that you are involved in? And drinking a glass of water, you are involved in drinking a glass of water, and is that water that you are drinking safe? Is the way in which the South African police are conducting themselves in our community, are they actually keeping the community safe? Because that's their mandate. It's to keep us safe. It's to protect us. It's not to traumatize us. And the same applies to the South African Defence Force. The same applies to our government. Are the things that our government and are the policies that our government are doing, are these policies being passed to keep us as South African citizens safe? And I can simply say to you the answer is no. Many of the policies that have been passed in this country by our government is not there to ensure our safety as citizens. It is to ensure that corporations are safe, not the citizens. Because the law in South Africa around safe is to protect the corporations, not the citizens. So here's a classical case in terms of the vaccine. We cannot sue the pharmaceutical companies. Our government asks us to pay from our taxes in the unlikely event that we are harmed by this vaccine. Now, is that a safe policy? It can't be safe at all. The fact that government does not follow supply chain management in any particular way, it's an unsafe practice because that's how corruption happens. So the word safe should actually become a benchmark, or often what I want to say, a standard to measure how the quality of what that particular policy, that action, whatever it is that we're going to do. So I could sort of ask, for example, currently where our Minister of COCTA, for example, Dr. Dlamini Zuma, says to us, we want you to pay for the vaccine. We cannot hold the vaccine manufacturers responsible for it. If a car drives over me, I want to sue the driver. If this vaccine harms me, I can't even sue the vaccine manufacturer. I'm unemployed. I've got to pay myself. And I'm unemployed.
In fact, before we go on, all right, this one is signed Temba, right? He says, and he calls you Mr. Siddeeq. I'm sure he does not understand or he does not know your surname, right?
It's all right. It's okay.
He says, and this was sent on my personal account. It says, it's good to hear your voice again. So it seems like it's somebody who knows you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I want to greet him in Latino and say hola. And up in the up north, I want to say sawubona. Yeah.
You know what, ne? And then somebody also on my timeline as well. He calls you Wo Siddeeq, and this is in Venda. And it's written Siddeeq, So, in fact, you're receiving quite a lot of love.
May I just want to end off with this part of safe, actually, because I think it's something very important.
Yeah.
We have this real horrible thing in South Africa called gender-based violence. So when you take the term safe, when does a woman know that she is safe in the company of a man? It's a very important question.
Yes.
When a man, when a woman marries a man, how does she know that she's going to be safe in that marriage? How does she know, for example? And so for her to decide what does safe mean for her, because asking a man to protect you is not enough, because men have violated that over and over and over. Saying to a male, for example, don't take advantage of me, it falls on deaf ears, because that's what males do. It's the most wrong things that we do as males. And so for women in particular, it becomes vitally important for me as a male to say to a woman, to ask me, am I safe in your company? And even if my answer is yes, I have to prove that she is safe in my company. The same way in which I can say to you, Stanley, I love you. But if I do not show you what my love is, I do not love you. All you've heard is words. That's all.
I wish we had time to talk about love, because when you talk to a young old man like you, I know that discussion around love will never, you'll never finish it within an hour. Okay, so how does a woman or a female get an assurance that they are safe, in the company of a man?
Okay, so the one way in which women all over the world can get assurance that they are safe from a male is when they are financially independent, and when governments in different countries can not only create the opportunity but create the access for women to earn not a decent wage, but a living wage. We speak about a basic wage income. Nobody wants a basic wage income. What we want is a wage to live from. It must be fair. So my thing is that the whole idea of how do women become safe? It is when opportunities and access for financial freedom is created for women and not focused on men only, which we have done for hundreds of years.
You see, it begs a question to say, does that mean now a woman will be safe when she is self-sufficient? Or will a woman be safe when she is earning as much as a man earns?
It's not about how much she is earning. It is the dignity. It's the ability that she has the choice to make decisions for herself without feeling that she is indebted or having to be dependent on a man to take care of her needs. It's not a competition. It's not a competition.
Okay.
It's about the choice that a woman has. The way our society is structured in a patriarchal manner, which means in a male-dominated manner, it does not make space for women in any particular way, no matter how they want to spend it. In 1998, I wrote a thesis on the Employment Equity Act, and I actually proved in 1998, sitting in the USA, that the Employment Equity Act was actually discriminating against women even more than before the act was there. I then came and I presented in 2002, and I'm not saying I'm the result of it, but yeah. But so the idea that women have a choice and that women have not only opportunity, but that women have access. Because as men, we have access. Women don't.
Now, okay. I am going to end with a quote of yours. You also wrote a thesis in 1986 as well. So I'm actually revealing your age here. I'm going to end with that quote. But I want to ask you another different question, because the show is about making a difference in education and training. So I want to ask, what education does a young person need to survive in this world, especially during this time?
Okay. So for me, there's formal education, what you get at school. I want to say, go through that. And I think the previous speaker said, things like maths and science, yes, they are important. But there are far more things that are important than maths and science. So the one, if I can say that there's a way that you can actually create your own life. You really and truly can. You can create it by being an entrepreneur, and you can create opportunities for yourself. But you first and foremost have to believe in who you are. That's the first thing. So the first thing is that when you start respecting yourself, when you start respecting, you start developing what's called models. Okay, and that is vitally, vitally important. So respect actually, guides you to develop models. And when you respect others, it guides you to developing manners. So how do you interact with people? So education itself has got a lot to do about life. Education has got a lot to do about how do you actually treat yourself. If you treat yourself with dignity, then you will treat others with dignity. If you are willing to commit to working hard, then you're willing to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve as well. But at the end of the day, the hardest work, and this is education, the hardest work any person will ever do is to work on their relationship with themselves.
To work on their relationship with themselves. Yeah.
There is no harder work in this world than working on that relationship, because we see ourselves, the education that we have, that have streamed us, including myself, is to look at myself through the eyes of others, to compare myself to the standards of others. And I refuse. I actually refuse the opportunity for myself to be me. Why can I not be me? I am the most amazing person in this world, and I don't mean that in an arrogant sense. So let me tell you how special I am as Stanley.
Okay.
I am so special that my creator deemed it fit for me to be on this earth. So what the hell does other people's opinions matter? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I want to quote you again, where you actually said there's nobody more important than yourself in this world.
I agree with you, and I do not mean that in an egocentric way. I do not mean it in a way of self-pontification. I mean it in a way that if you cannot love yourself, if you do not feel that you are important in your own life, you are important in no one's life.
And if you don't love yourself, how do you expect to love other people as well?
Exactly. And so I want to go back to the issue of safe. So if you do not feel safe with yourself, you cannot offer anybody else safety.
Now, the interesting question that I've always had, being street smart, is it part of education?
It is vital for education. So one of the things is being street smart. It is not only about survival. Being street smart is having the ability to live your life to the fullest. I want to say that again. Being street smart is having the ability to live your life to the fullest in every possible way. And I think it's vitally important, because people get caught up with the education of what you learn out of textbooks and what the teacher teaches you. I can tell you that many people, I'm sure many of the people listening on this podcast, I know we crunch for time, but how much of that school work that you have learned, that hours that you sat studying, that hours that you sat revising, has actually really and truly helped you to be where you are today? Where are the majority of our youth today? They are unemployed. They are sitting with degrees, they are unemployed. And yet they do not have the skills to pick themselves up and move on, because they do not believe that they have that ability to move on. They look to their friends, and they and their friends congregate, and the assumption is that we'll move together. But believe me, It doesn't work that way at all.
Is that perhaps the reason why, in fact, before I even get there, I want to talk about, is it an issue of our education system in South Africa or around the world?
It's an issue around the world that you are not taught to be who you are. Your creativity is already stunted in the time. Sorry, I'm talking about like standard 2, standard 3. Let me rather go to grade 2.
No, it's fine. I understand.
Yeah. In those grades, your creativity is completely killed because you are put on a conveyor belt like a factory system, and they expect you to conform because no government in the world can deal with citizens that can think for themselves. They cannot deal with citizens who are critical thinkers. They cannot deal with citizens who believe that they can do things for themselves. What governments want from us is they want us to be dependent on them. That's what governments actually want from us, because they want themselves to be the answers to our misery. And they're the ones that create our misery, because most of the policies and most of the manner in which many parliamentarians act, it is not in our interest. Parliamentarians make us unsafe as citizens. They create the unsafe context that we have to live in. And if I can go back, to the Freedom Charter, if the Freedom Charter can be revived and applied to Parliament, every single one of those parliamentarians must, I don't want to say that bad word, must get out. I think you know what you say to a dog, to an inja put sack,
Yeah. Now, in closing, you spoke about Valentine. I don't know why you brought Valentine in this conversation, although Valentine passed away so many years ago. So what does it mean to you? What sort of education do we need to have love?
First and foremost, you need to learn to love yourself. That is the most important thing. You need to realize that you are a very, very special person. You need to realize that the world is not outside of you. The world is inside of you. And the more you nurture and the more you water and the more you grow inside of you, the more you will bloom outside of you. And as people see you blooming, they are attracted to your bloom. Have you ever walked to a fruit tree and there's no fruit? When you see that ripe fruit hanging there, you run to that tree because you want to pick that fruit. And that is exactly what it is.
Elia.
And that's exactly what it is, Stanley. It is really nurture. So I want to say to you, agriculture, I mean, I know you've got to leave now, but agriculture, which we have shied away, we don't worry about agriculture anymore. We think it's only rural people, poor people, agriculture. But I want to say to you, agriculture is the oxygen of Africa.
Exactly.
If people get involved in agriculture, we will not have the level of poverty that we have on this continent. We will not have the level of sickness and disease and malnourishment that we have. But any leader, a leader to me is a great leader who takes care of the soil. So certainly, if I should take Shell, for example, their CEO is not a great leader because Shell pollutes every single where they go. And so do many, many mines. Many of those people we see as great leaders, they are not great leaders. Because if you want to lead, you lead by protecting the soil. Because that is our life.
It is our life. And it is exactly 18:58 right here at VMC Planet Radio. I'm having a discussion with a good friend of mine who once taught me that if I am talking to somebody, I need to be direct. I need to be very clear of my intentions so that the next person can be able to understand and know exactly what is actually involved. Now, I'm going to ask him one more question before I end up with a quote. But the question is, now, if you want to take somebody out for a Valentine and you want to be direct and ensure that the person understands what's going to happen afterwards, what do you say to them?
Okay, so the one thing is and this is for men.
Yeah. Yes, for men. Yes.
I want men to be direct, actually.
Yes.
If you are taking a woman out and your intention that we spoke about is basically to have sex with that woman, don't waste your time on flowers. Don't waste your time on chocolate. Don't waste your time on a meal. Just say to the woman, I would love to have sex with you. Can we have sex? There's nothing wrong with it. And then the woman has the choice to say yes or no. But when you want to buy her, through the chocolates and through everything else, it is then that she feels a bit guilty and like the dependence, that she's dependent on you, and now she's got to give you something. No, guys, be straight up and be out. If you want to have sex with a woman, say, can I have sex with you? And that is it. That's it, being straight out.
Mr. Siddeeq wrote in 1986 that we cannot level the playing fields. We have to create new fields. And with that, thank you so very much for coming through.
Sally, thank you so much to you and all of your listeners as well. And thank you, my friend, for the invitation. And thank you that after these many, many years, we haven't seen each other, but that we are still in touch. Thank you. Peace and blessings to all your listeners. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so very much. His name is Siddeeq. There is a whole lot of wisdom, I think, that you took from the last part that he said is that if you want something, be direct. If you want to have sex, say it. Save your time with flowers and chocolates and all of those things.